Hello everyone. I'm here to share my story about how to overcome my fears. I can't say I have completely overcome it, but I have been making much progress. Have you ever seen the series 왕자의 Game, the Game of Thrones? Have you? Yeah. Yes. There's this famous phrase, winter is coming. In this story, winter represents something inevitable. It's the kind of day you wish you could avoid forever. Actually, the winter is here and now for me, because one of my biggest fear is speaking English in public. To be honest, I'm not the type of person who enjoys being in the spotlight. Some of you might see me on YouTube. That's something I have to really work on. Hearing my own voice or seeing myself on screen used to make me really uncomfortable. And speaking in English, that's even harder to get past. I was so self-conscious about my pronunciation that even chatting with my coworkers who were studying in English, I tried to speak as little as possible. I was afraid of making mistakes or sounding strange. And yet, here I am. So what finally brought me to this point? It wasn't easy. It took me a year to embrace my fear. This journey began about a year ago on our annual presentation day, also known as 영독절. That day, Dr. Shin delivered his speech. He seemed determined but nervous. On our way home, he turned to me and said, "Next time, it's your turn." I froze, so I replied, "Even you, someone so confident on stage, were this nervous. How on earth am I supposed to do it?" So I thought, there's no way this would ever happen. But deep down, I knew that day is coming, like winter is coming. So I identified two main reasons that motivated me to take action. The first reason was a sense of responsibility. At Sangsang Scare, we've been telling people, Jae Kim's books and lectures are the key to improving your English. But I realized that words alone weren't enough. We needed someone who wasn't already fluent but could show genuine progress using our English learning platform, Study and Class. I thought to myself, if I can step up, how can I expect others to trust what you offer? So I immersed myself in Jae Kim's curriculum. It wasn't about proving something to others. It was about proving it to myself. That sense of responsibility became my strongest driving force. The second reason was a clear vision of my future self. In my future self, I see myself on a stage, confidently speaking to an international audience about our company's time management system. To turn the vision into reality, I need to speak effectively in English. Speaking English in front of people is the first step toward achieving that goal. However, even after I found my motivation, the goal still felt far away. Many of you could relate to this. You fully understand why you have to do it, but the fear of failure holds you back from even getting started. That's exactly how I felt. 5 months later, our CEO, Young Song-go, delivered his first ever English speech. It was different from Dr. Shin's because Dr. Shin had studied overseas and earned his PhD at Singapore University, but Young Song-go was a complete beginner in English speaking. Knowing that he had his own struggles, including a mental block while speaking in English, his courage inspired me to face my fears. That's when I began to ask myself, can I take this seriously? Even he could manage it so well that I had pressure to do even better. It's time to really get started. The key was to secure time to study. I realized I have 2 free hours every day, so I decided to dedicate half of the time, at least 1 hour, to studying English every day. And I've stuck with it ever since. It's been about a year now. 1 hour might not seem like much, but it wasn't always easy. I made sure to stay consistent. Even while traveling, I'd open my laptop at night to watch lectures. During car rides, I'd pull out my handwritten notes to review them. While walking or running, I repeatedly listened to 100 phrasal verbs, 김재우의 구동사 100, on our YouTube channel, 영어독립. During this time, I went through 김재우의 구동사 100 and 김재우의 영어회화 100, not just once, over twice. And I've also studied 김재우의 기초회화 100. Of course, the progress didn't happen overnight. But over time, those small efforts really add up. I found myself understanding English much better while watching American TV shows. And I used to speak in a formal and overly complicated way, but now I'm expressing more casually, sounding much closer to a native speaker, I believe, thanks to Jae Kim. As you have noticed, I'm using quite a few phrasal verbs, like work on or stick it out and add up. I wouldn't have been understand these expressions a year ago. However, the problem still remained. Studying consistently and speaking to an audience are two completely different challenges. At first, I thought if I could memorize the entire script perfectly, everything would be fine. But things didn't go as I planned. When I did the first rehearsal, something felt off. My eyes weren't looking ahead. They were too busy rolling around, trying to come up with the next sentence. I felt so discouraged that day. What if I froze during the speech? Even imagining you, the audience in front of me, made me even more nervous. So, over the next few weeks, I shifted my focus to telling the story naturally rather than strictly sticking to the text. And I did a few more rehearsals, even brought my husband and son here as an audience. Gradually, I improved and started gaining confidence. But the thing is, this whole process was incredibly stressful, and I couldn't really enjoy it. I can't stop but think, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. During this time, I came across a YouTube video by Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist. He talked about how doing things we dislike can actually strengthen our brains. He explained the entire cingulate cortex. A small part of our brain increases in size when we push ourselves to the challenges, especially we don't really like it. This story resonated deeply with me because I used to feel guilty for not enjoying the process, and hearing this brought me a sense of relief. I changed my mind. I wasn't just learning a new skill, it was about training my brain to become the future version of myself. One day, as I sat down to study English right after coming home from work, my second son said to me, "Mom, I think it's amazing how you always finish what you need to do before doing what you want to do." It struck me because that was the person I wanted to be. Someone who keeps promises to herself. And over time, I've noticed keeping those promises had become less difficult than before. Through this journey, I've come to realize something profound. Success isn't about skills, it's about building character. Every challenge and every uncomfortable moment that I faced turned out to be a stepping stone rather than a hurdle. As the book, The Promises of Giants, 거인의 약속 says, winning requires doing things you don't want to do. Winning requires spending time in ways you don't prefer. That's the hard truth about success. It's uncomfortable, but it's also where real growth happens. How about you? Is there a challenge you've been putting off? Why not choose one small task and start it from this week? If I could go from doubting myself to standing here, sharing my story in English, you can too. Winter comes around for everyone. If you can't escape it, let's embrace your fear with open arms. And then someday you'll be amazed at what your future self accomplishes. And your future self We thank you. Before I finish it, I have one last thing to say. Next time, it's your turn. I hope the journey begins today. Thank you.